Good morning, America. How are you? How are you, America? As for me, I'm experiencing the emotion of happiness right at the moment. I'm big on emotions. As you know, if you've watched my other videos, you know I'm a proponent for being in touch with your emotions. So on a happy note, this video is going to be centered on happy stuff, as opposed to my other videos. I was just negative emotions. Let's deal with the happy emotion right now. I'm happy because the other day was my birthday, and me and my adult children, we were sitting around having drinks the other day, a couple nights ago. And as it turns out, my adult children are curious about they're curious about me. As it turns out, and the reason I'm telling you this is because I've always been kind of cold and distant, as they pointed out. My children, they point out that I've always been kind of cold and distant. I never really. They want to know about the dad lore. That's what the dad lore. They want to know about the dad lore, and I've always kept my cards close to my vest because I'm kind of I'm just because. Anyway, happy news is I had a really good memory about my father, about my dad, and I don't want to talk about myself. Like I said, I keep my cards close to the vest, but I'll talk about my dad. I'll talk to my dad all night long, all day. In fact, my first childhood memory, literally my very first childhood memory that I ever had, is of my dad. And I'll share it with you. I'll share it with you. I'll dedicate this video to my kids who I've never. This is the first time I've talked to this. This is my children. This will be the first time. I was 3, maybe 4 years old. I wasn't in kindergarten yet, and it was hot. It was hot because we lived in New Mexico, rural New Mexico, Southwest America, in the Southwestern America. It was hot, and I was 4 years old, and I was sitting on the ground, hard packed dirt, And I was 4 years old. And next to me, sitting on a stool, was my dad. He had a paintbrush in his hand. My dad had a paintbrush in his hand. He was sitting there on his stool, and he was sitting on the side of his, and he was painting a sign on the side of his pickup truck. He had a white Ford pickup truck, and he was painting the sign literally with the paintbrush. He had a paintbrush and black paint. In the background was the driver's side door of this 1959 Ford pickup truck. And my that's my first memory. My memories of this. It was this pickup truck. It was a night. For those of you who don't know, the 1959 Ford pickup truck was kind of a beastie thing. It looked like a Chinese pug. Okay, with those pug eyes. Imagine a pickup that looked like only had four big protruding headlights. It was a scary truck for a kid like me. I was, like I said, 4 years old. So anyway, my dad was painting. My dad, the reason he was painting the reason the paint, my dad was painting on the side of his truck. He was painting the name of his company. He was a proud owner of a small business. Okay, and what my dad did, he was a junk dealer. He peddled used furniture and appliances and TVs. Back when I was like I said, I was 4 years old, and it was the early '70s, and televisions. There was still actually a thing called television repairman. People would still come to your house and repair TVs. My dad, he repaired TVs and sold them secondhand in his small business. It was a secondhand bric-a-brac shop where, like I said, he peddled junk. He was a junk dealer. The happy memory is I was sitting there and he was painting, and he was so proud of himself. My dad, he was happy. He was just beaming and I can remember in the sun, and it was hot, and he was wearing a T-shirt, and he had this weird kind of like early 1970s hat. I don't know what to kind of call it, but anyway, he was sitting there, and to, and it was ingenious. I'm so proud of him because, like I say, he did the best he could with what he had to work with, and to paint the sign on his truck. What he did is he took a sheet metal screw, okay, and he drilled a hole right into the side of the panel of the truck, and got a piece of baler twine and put a pencil in it, and he used it, and he'd make it arch, right? Because he would use the screw. He tied the twine around the screw and used that for a fulcrum to make an arch, perfect arch, okay. And then he would scribe with this arch. And then he did lettering. He actually did hand drawn lettering. I don't know if he had stencils or what, but it was awesome. It was my first memory is him. After he finished, he was so proud of himself because it said Charlie's with the arch, black fonts. The white door of the pickup truck was the backdrop. Bargain barn, Charlie's bargain barn. And he looked at me. He said, "You see that stud, bud stud? That's how you do stuff. That's how you do stuff." And then he reached down and tickled me right in my little rib cage there, and that's my first And I'm proud of my father, and I want my kids to be proud of their goddamn heritage too. And I'm gonna stop that video right here because that's probably it. No, there's more to come. This video is dedicated to my children. That sounds cheesy, but I said it anyway. Good